Good evening, everyone. We're calling to order the March 22nd Daytona Beach Shores City Council meeting. Sherry, would you take a roll, please?
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Vice Mayor Lindauer,
Here.
Councilmember Bryan,
Here.
Councilmember Frizzalone,
Here.
Councilmember Price.
Here.
Thank you. Reverend Bob, can you come up? Before you come up, I want to congratulate you on your 10-year, was that 10 years that you've been with the Drive-In Christian Church?
That's correct. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Last week.
I know they
was
were-
the anniversary.
Yes, I know they were very happy. You had a beautiful cake.
And for tonight, I pulled out the shirt that the city gave me 10 years ago. It's holding up.
It looks brand
It's still white.
Oh.
I haven't even had to order a size larger since.
Yes, in fact, it looks a little bit big. You've lost some weight in 10 years. But anyway, thank you for everything that you do for the city. You're a wonderful partner, and we appreciate you.
Amen.
Will you join me in standing and as you're able and we'll pray together. Gracious God, we do celebrate your presence in our lives and in our city and in the work that we are called to do together as friends and neighbors, as city council members and staff of the city. We thank you for this great place that we can call home or our place of employment. And we thank you for the constant guidance you give us in each and every task that we undertake as we call upon you this evening. We pray that your guidance and wisdom will be upon the decision makers of our city and that it will be within the conversations that happen in this place. Tonight, we are certainly mindful of those halfway around the world who are fighting for their lives in Ukraine. We lift them up to you for safety, for your hedge of protection, and for the aggressor to lay down their weapons and allow people to return to their homes and begin the process once again of rebuilding their lives. May the people of Ukraine's bravery be a testament and an example to us who are so very fortunate to do brave things in this place and for this city and nation. We ask these things as we come before you tonight in your holy name. Amen.
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 Thank you, Reverend Bob. Vice Mayor Lindauer, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, this evening, we are very pleased and honored to have someone in our presence. Every year, the Port Orange, South Daytona, and now we're annexed in Chamber of Commerce, recognizes each city officer of the year, and they do it for their police officer and their fire department. Well, now that we're combined, we only offered one up, but I'm very, very pleased to say that this year it's Sergeant Jessica Long. And if you could come up, Jessica, I think maybe the chief has a couple words to say, but we're just so proud of you. So on February 2nd, we presented her with this award, and she got this beautiful picture.
Jessica, come on. I thought it was a life size, but it's a little smaller. So I'm going to speak to you all because this directly affected you. About a year and a half ago, I came to you and I told you we were in a lot of trouble with personnel. And you graciously said, okay, let's make this, let's do what we can to budget, to set up, to increase benefits, to increase a package so that we can attract top candidates. Jessica got the assignment to do that. She also runs our detective bureau. She does a great job. So she was stuck in the detective bureau, 2 detectives down. We had people working overtime all the time. We had very few patrol. Our patrol division was basically decimated. We lost about 40% of our department. I think I told you that. You said to do what we could do. Jessica spent pretty much her whole being on hiring, helping with the backgrounds, doing the research, and we are fully staffed. I don't mean to turn my back to anybody, but I got to tell you that without her efforts, we would not be this way. Next month, about half the people we hired will be off probation. That's a year, and it's thanks to her. So we gave her this award through the chamber because this is true how you do business. And she's so dedicated, she did a great job, and I wanted to bring her here, as you all did. But without her, our department was really going under. You knew that I was in trouble when I came to you. And without your efforts, and without everybody working together, we would not be where we are today.
Another partnership.
Yeah.
I feel like we partnered together.
It's terrific, but like I said, we are fully staffed. We have basically a waiting list.
Wow,
So,
that's cool.
you know, how long it lasts, who knows? This is a transitional business sometimes, like any business. But thanks. So
Jessica,
I asked her to
thank
bring
you
the
so much.
picture.
Yes. Okay, so the picture gives every participant.
Another picture?
Yes, get a picture.
And take a picture with your pride.
Nancy, can you take a picture with,
So the little
And
one
look,
with his
yeah,
back to you, that's Lucas.
come on, Lucas, come up and
Daddy
take a
there.
picture with your mom.
Hey, Lucas, would you like to
Want to
get
take a picture with mommy? Come on up.
Oh, here we go. Come on, Lucas.
Stud muffin.
Ah, there you go. All right. Yeah,
You know her?
It's mommy.
It's mommy.
Daddy's right back there. He's nobody.
Sorry, cover your mouth, please. No. Oh, you're stuck? Okay.
Oh, he's doing good. Lucas, look at the camera.
Nice hug.
Say cheese.
Get down.
Can you say cheese? Oh, no. Thank you. We're Coca-Cola. Just take it. All right, thank you. Go get Daddy. Go that way. Daddy's calling you. Hey.
I can't take a picture of you.
I sometimes have good ideas, but maybe this wasn't the right one.
stuck again?
Look at Daddy.
Okay.
Look at Daddy, Lucas. There you go. Quick. All
You can, Nancy.
You want a lollipop?
right. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Long, thank you.
Hey, FIFA!
Yeah, I know you want a lollipop.
Okay, next we'll move on to approval of minutes for the city council meeting, March 8th, 2022. Do you have a motion to accept those minutes?
I move we approve the minutes of the council meeting of March 8th, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion on those minutes? Okay, hearing none. Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Yes, ma'am. Vice Mayor Lindauer,
Yes.
Councilmember Frizzlone,
Yes.
Councilmember Plitus,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, on our consent agenda this evening, we have 5 items. If there's nothing that needs pulled, can I hear a motion to accept all 5 on the consent agenda, please?
I'll move to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion on any of the items? Okay, hearing none. Sherry, can you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Plitus,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan,
Yes.
Councilmember Frizzlone,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we have the report of our city attorney, and we have the pleasure of having Attorney Bose with us this evening.
Thank you. Okay, since the last meeting, we've drafted a release of liability for a claim at the request of staff. We've continued to work with the finance director on the purchase of the property behind the Chase Bank, including issues relating to allowed use. We've assisted city staff with legal opinions regarding employment law issues, including issues related to age discrimination, protected class, and light duty. We finalized the charter language for the ballot, including a language translation. And we've continued to work through the issues having to do with the Oceans 25 plat with the city surveyor regarding that plat. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. City Manager Booker, what do you have for us this evening?
A few things, Madam Mayor. Treasure Island, I think in my manager's report, I mentioned that it was slated for demo on the 23rd. It looks like now that may be pushed back tentatively to the 28th at 11 a.m. I know we're planning sort of a ceremony as part of that demolition. I don't believe, and I'll ask Mr. Hyde about this, I see it's Stuart said they still have not gotten their permit as of 3:30, so I'm assuming they haven't gotten it.
Not yet, but I expect probably tomorrow.
Okay. So maybe they can get the work they need to do on the roof before they start demoing.
Okay, Mike, if I could add on to that, Fred and I spoke with Peter from Acres today, and he didn't sound like he was aware that they didn't get the permit. You know, I asked him to call me back, and I said, no permit, and he called right back. He said, what do you mean, no permit? So we got Fred on the phone. So the only outstanding item right now is they have Daytona water that needs shut off, and we just need verification that that water was indeed shut off. Is that correct, Fred? Is that the only outstanding thing? Okay. So this week, the plan is that they're going to start to do some cleanup, some pre-work to get some of the hanging, flashing off of there, some of the railings before they start this. So we're going to have a big announcement on it for everyone that's been asking, at least all of us for 4 years. I'm sure the council for 10 years before that. So if those of you don't know, this actually happened in 2004. So we're going on 18 years of this. So I'm just so proud of everyone on this council for the support, everything that we did to accomplish this. So this is saying on Monday, the 28th at 11 o'clock, we're going to have a ceremony. And it's not, we thought it was going to be a fancy implosion or at least a wrecking ball. It will be a long arm mechanisms that'll just take it down, but we'll take whatever we can get. There'll be light refreshments, but everyone is welcome. So I'd appreciate it if you'd come that day. Thank you. I'm sorry, City Manager, go ahead.
That's okay, no, that's perfect. Peck Park, the soft opening was on this past Friday. They are putting in playground equipment this week. Hopefully that will be done this week also. And both parks, I'm sure Peck Park especially will be slated for a grand opening at some point because the dedication is obviously to Mr. Peck Sr. and an important part of this community for many, many years. I want to congratulate Catherine Goetz on her promotion to the rank of sergeant. Everybody that was there, it was a beautiful ceremony, and Catherine's mom was there, her significant other was there, and it was just a really nice thing, and the chief always does a good job with those, and we're so proud of her for that. And I think Mayor, you had a question regarding the
FP&L, I'm running into somebody today that said, especially since gas was so high, are we still, we're in the process of changing it over that it will no longer be free, is that correct?
That is correct. In the immortal words of Vice Mayor Lindauer, we don't give gas away, we probably shouldn't give electricity away either.
Okay, do we know when that'll be completed, Mike? So we're going from charge systems, or whatever it was, charge point, to FP&L.
I'm anticipating within the next few weeks, probably, if not sooner. Kurt, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, to your first question, Madam Mayor, it's still going to be a charge point station. So people with a charge point account will just have to do the same thing they normally do. It'll just be an FP&L charging station paid for by FP&L instead of a charge point station paid for by the city.
And now we give, what, four hours free? And
the first 4 hours are free. After that, it's chargeable, and most of the people seem to be using the free time, not the charge or paid time.
And then what about when FP&L takes over? Will they still get 4 hours free a month?
No, ma'am.
No. Minute one, day one.
Minute one is a charge, yes.
Okay, great. All right, that answers that. Any other questions for our city manager on any of the items that he discussed this evening? Okay, if not, we will go on to the next item, which is old business, and that was the Bank of America property purchase. Kurt, if you can come up and give us the update on that.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. So we did hear back, and I've had a chance to talk to most of you, but for the public, we did hear back. We were actually bid number 4. But they did open it up to us to submit a best and final bid. But what I was told verbally over the phone when I contacted the listing agent is that they did have 2 bids over $1 million. We were at $850, if you remember. But that Bank of America had its own appraisal done. They came in at $1,340,000. To me, that's just an awful lot of money. I just verbally talked to the listing agent. I don't know if he was trying to bump up our bid, or if that's really what happened, I'll never know till somebody else buys it. Right now, I think staff is recommending that we just resubmit our bid at $850 as best and final and say, we're interested. If something else falls through, come back to us at the end of the day. I have a hard time justifying an additional $500,000 basically to secure that property. If somebody is out there willing to spend that kind of money on the property and then they put another, say $400,000 or $500,000 in to renovate it, it'd be a great taxable property on the tax rolls at this point. So unless council wants to do something different, I'm here tonight to ask for directions just to resubmit our bid so we're still interested. If what I was told is 100% true, then we're clearly not in the running, but at least they'll know if something does fall apart, there is an interested party still.
Yes, I'm extremely disappointed because, it was such a piece of property that we did want to own, but I cannot justify, spending that much money. I was just looking, Daytona just spent $3.1 million for that, is it a marketplace or not a flea market or something down there? But, Daytona is a lot larger than we are and probably had specific plans for it. I know in speaking with Nancy, we were hoping that we could move some of the activities that are overflowing here or there. I mean, we didn't have it exactly earmarked, but, that was at the original price. Do you happen to know why, I think we got our appraisal probably 10 months ago, 8 to 10 months ago. I would say last June or July, and then we had heard someone else got an appraisal for $1.1 million. Is it just the marketplace?
I'm assuming it's just what the market is. We all know the market for real estate is crazy right now. That's all I can assume that it is.
And you and I looked today at the Sun Trust. Was that $1.1 million?
Yeah, the Sun Trust at the north end of town was $1,150,000 asking price on LoopNet. So, that's at the north end of town. This is prime property right next to Publix and public safety and other stuff. So, is it worth basically $200,000 more? The market will tell us that.
Right. Okay.
There wasn't a trend. They didn't sell it, right? Sun Trust.
No, that's on LoopNet as a asking price right now.
Well, they can ask anything.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was just trying to, say that this is a valuable piece of property, and I think Vice Mayor had something to say.
Yeah, a red flag goes up when the bid was originally supposed to be just a top 3.
Yeah.
We are 4, and they let us in. I smell something there that doesn't smell right to me.
That's why I say let's resubmit at $850, and if there is something else going on and they were just trying to drive up the bid, we're still there. But if not, and somebody wants to spend that kind of money and rehab it, we'll have a beautiful property still on the tax rolls.
My other question is, do they know that our bid is cash and close at any time they want?
Yes.
That's clear, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I told Kurt to tell him we'll name it Bank of America Pavilion. So would that get us anything? But, and normally when something like this comes along, I try to reach out to 10, 20 people that I know. So half of them said, we need that property, so go ahead with the 1.1, 1.2. And the other one said, don't spend that much money, but I know if something, just for instance, if there would be a medical marijuana place that would go there, I'm just speculating, so then people are going to come, well, why didn't you? So,
A tattoo parlor.
Yeah, I don't think we can do tattoo, but, so I'm just saying, that's why we didn't have a specific reason for it, but we're trying to say we want to control it so that doesn't happen. It's a shame that it didn't work out, but is everyone in agreement that our city manager goes back with the $850?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I agree 100% with Mel. If somebody tells me we're going to take the top 3 and they say you come in 4, but you can bid anyway, that does raise a big red flag. And I'm not saying they're lying, but I think it's a possibility. And there are appraisals and there are appraisals. Some appraisals are based on what do you want me to, what do you want the appraisal number to be? So I would even submit it with the stipulation that if we end up getting the bid, that we are allowed to see the other bids and verify that they were in fact,
I don't know if we're allowed to under their bid process at this point.
they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, Kurt, but the point that they told you that the other people bid, this whole thing just...
Yes. Well, that's why, to me, keeping a bid in there rather than just completely dropping out.
Oh, I agree.
In essence, we're calling their bluff.
Yeah.
If we believe they're bluffing, we're calling their bluff. We were willing to offer $850. We're still willing to offer $850. It's a very reputable company that's doing the listing and stuff, so I don't believe they're bluffing. But on the off chance there is a bluff,
It's LaSalle that you spoke?
Yeah, JLL.
JLL, Jones LaSalle.
You're familiar with them. I don't believe it's a bluff. So.
Okay.
It's just strange. Even if it's not a bluff, it's strange.
Okay, well, we did our due diligence and, tried to come in with a bid that we felt was fair.
Do I need a vote to resubmit it at the $850 or?
I think it would be a
consent?
good idea.
Okay. Then
All right.
I'd like to make a motion to resubmit the bid at $850,000 for Bank of America's building.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Sherry, can you take a vote on that, please?
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Frizzalone?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilmember Pledis?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we're going to go on to item 11. This is quasi judicial hearing. And City Planner Cruz, would you come up, please? And we will have our city clerk swear him in.
And I can go ahead and read the title.
Okay.
At this point, and then if the city clerk could swear in everybody.
Oh, everyone.
Everybody who's going to speak. This is ordinance number 2022-08, an ordinance of the city of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, assigning the RSF2 Urban Single Family Residential Detached Residential Zoning Classification to Annex Single Family Residential Property generally located at 6 Carter Terrace. Short tax parcel ID 5334-00-02-0190, providing modification to the official zoning map, providing for implementing administrative actions, providing for non-codification, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that will be speaking on this in addition to Stuart Cruz? Okay, if not, then if you could swear.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth during the next 2 hearings?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a very short presentation, if you'll indulge me. This is a quasi judicial hearing, ordinance 2022-08, which is a rezoning of a property at 6 Carter Terrace. This property was recently annexed into the city by the city council earlier this year, and this is part of the process that we do for any property that's annexed from the county into the city of Daytona Beach Shores, or any jurisdiction for that matter here in the state of Florida, in an attempt or an effort for the city to apply its zoning regulations, its land development regulations for development or for code enforcement or anything of that nature. So the property owner is Colby and Jennifer Caldwell, and the property is located at 6 Carter Terrace. As I mentioned earlier, it's less than a quarter of an acre, and essentially this is a like-for-like transaction. So essentially you have a single-family property in the county, it's annexed into Daytona Beach Shores, and we're going to assign a single-family matching zoning district, and later on you'll see a future land use classification as well. So basically there's going to be no impact or no change whatsoever, with the exception of some of our specific land development regulations that we do enforce here in Daytona Beach Shores. So in your staff report that I've submitted for the record, because this is a quasi-judicial hearing, you'll notice that in terms of the impact, there's no impact or no change. Because as I mentioned earlier, it's a like-for-like for single family to single family. This is the location of the property. It's right behind the Red Lobster Plaza on Carter Terrace. This is an aerial view of the property. This is a view of the street view of the property. And essentially what we're doing is, right now the property has an R9 county zoning on the zoning map, and if you look closely, you'll notice that the color changes. If this ordinance is adopted, this is essentially what the ordinance will be doing, changing color in the zoning map to essentially match what the county has out there. So staff is recommending approval of this ordinance. If there's any questions for me, I'll be happy to take those. The Planning and Zoning Board did hear this rezoning application, the ordinance, and they recommended unanimously approval.
Thank you. Any questions for Stuart?
Is the old and new requirements essentially identical?
In terms of the land development code? Or in terms of the...
In terms of the requirement, the zoning requirements?
The zoning requirements, there's just some minor differences. So for example, in the city, we require side yard setbacks to be 10 feet. In the county, it's 7 feet in this particular zoning district. But other than that, they're more or less the same.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else from the audience that wants to speak on this? Okay, if not, do we have to end this one before we go on to the next ordinance?
Yes, you should be voting on this at this point. Ask for a motion.
I'll move to approve
I'll
ordinance
second.
2022-08 as presented.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Sherry, can you take a roll on this, please?
Councilmember Politis?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Councilmember Frizzlone?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. We can just open up the next ordinance?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I can read it.
All right, thank you.
This is an ordinance number 2022-09, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, assigning the RSF2 Urban Single Family Residential Detached District Zoning Classification to Annex Single Family Residential Property generally located at 3102 Liberty Avenue, short tax parcel ID 5334-02-08-0010, providing modification of the official zoning map, providing for implementing administrative action, providing for non-codification, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Stuart, you're still sworn in.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, this is Stuart Cruz for the record, City Planner of the City of Daytona Beach Shores. Just like the previous ordinance, this is a property that has recently annexed into the city. The location is 3102 Liberty Street, and as the city attorney read in the ordinance, it's essentially to change the zoning designation of this property from R9 Urban Single Family Residential District to Daytona Beach Shores RSF-2, which is essentially the same designation, Urban Single Family Residential Detached District. The property is about 3/4 of an acre. The owners of the property are Larry and Barbara Pollack, and again, the location is 3102 Liberty Street. And again, this is a single family to single family matching that we're doing in terms of the changing of the zoning, and this is to ensure that the city is able to enforce its land development regulations and zoning regulations with regards to this property. So this is the location of the property. You may recall, we saw this in January during the annexation process. It's located at the corner of Liberty Van Avenue. It's about 3/4 of an acre. It's a vacant property at this time. This is the street view of the property. This is not an updated street view. This is a street view that was taken a couple years ago, and this is a Google Map view. If you've driven by the property, you'll see that they have already started to move dirt, and this process was actually initiated when it was in the county. But in terms of the building permit that will be associated with the housing structure, the residents that will be built there, that will go through the city. And that's the reason why we're going through this process. One of the reasons why. So as I mentioned in a previous hearing, staff has submitted the impact summary analysis and in the staff report for the record, and there has been no change. It's a like-for-like single family to single family. And so this is what the zoning map looks like right now. This is the property located here, and it has an R9 county zoning as well. And when it changes, if this ordinance is adopted, it will be a RSF-2 zoning for the City of Daytona Beach Shores. Staff is recommending approval.
So Stuart, when they do start to build, their permits will come then through the shores, not through the county, correct? Okay.
Correct.
Once this is approved.
Yes.
Great. Do I hear a motion to accept
I
ordinance?
move we approve 2022-09.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? Sherry, can you take a roll?
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilmember Politis?
Yes.
Councilmember Frizzlone?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. So this now ends the quasi-judicial hearing. Thank you. Okay, next we'll go on to new business. This is ordinance 2022-06, future land use map amendment. Becky, can you read that for us, please?
Okay, is this 2022-06 or 2022-07?
06.
06.
Okay.
Page 70.
You want my copy, Becky?
Yeah, I think I do. It's just not here. Thank you so much.
Might be a little further back, Becky, but.
Okay. This is ordinance number 2022-06, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to comprehensive plan, amending the City of Daytona Beach Shores Comprehensive Plan, amending Chapter 1, Future Land Use Element, by amending map L4 entitled Generalized Future Land Use Map 2030, assigning the residential low-intensity future land use designation to any single-family residential property generally located at 6 Carter Terrace, short party tax parcel ID 533400020190, providing for implementing actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. So we approved this under the Quasi Judicial, and this is now just a formality. Okay, can tell us what we're doing now.
And this is a requirement of the Florida statutes, again, in order for the city to enforce its land development regulations. Essentially, the statute says that the city can't enforce any of its development regulations until such time that a comprehensive plan amendment has been done and a future land use map has been assigned, category has been assigned to the property that has been annexed. So what will happen here is if these two ordinances are approved, these will be transmitted to the BGMC as part of the Volusia County Growth Management Commission process. So you won't see this again for another month or so. And whenever it's approved by VGMC, then it will come back to the city. All 4 of these ordinances will come back to the city council for a final approval.
Okay, thank you.
And again, this is just another procedure, and essentially it's just a changing of the map. So what you see here, the first maps that I showed you were the zoning maps, and now the future land use map is a map series that's in the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan, again, is the land use policy document for the future of Daytona Beach Shores, and essentially what you see here is that the future land use classification, essentially the color or the scheme that's assigned on the map is going to change if it's approved. It doesn't look like it's changed, but it's changed if it is adopted. So staff is recommending approval. There is a thorough analysis in your staff report. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to take those.
So Stuart, does this mean now that maybe another home either on the other side of this or across the street can also annex in? Did this start almost like the domino effect?
It could, but it's not as a result of the rezoning or the future land use. It's a result of the annexation that the city council did in January.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And we have been getting more interest in terms of annexations, as you probably have noticed.
Well, I think with the lower taxes here, right? Do I hear a motion to approve 2022-06?
Go ahead, Mel, go ahead.
I move we approve ordinance 2022-06.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Chair, can you take a roll on that?
Vice Mayor Linder?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Councilmember Flores?
Yes.
Councilmember Frislow?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we'll move on to ordinance 2022-07. Becky, can you read that for us,
Yes,
please?
this is ordinance number 2022-07, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to comprehensive planning, amending the City of Daytona Beach Shores Comprehensive Plan, amending Chapter 1, Future Land Use Element, by amending map L4 entitled Generalized Future Land Use Map 2030, assigning the residential low-intensity future land use designation to annex single-family residential property generally located at 3102 Liberty Avenue, short tax parcel ID 533402080010, providing for implementing actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and providing an effective date. Thank you.
And Stuart?
Again, Madam Mayor, council members, I apologize. This is again just part of the process. This is 3102 Liberty Annex property, and if we're changing the future land use from Volusia County urban low intensity to Daytona Beach Shores with residential low intensity, which is more or less a wash. It's the same thing, more or less. And it would permit for single family uses. Now, I mean, I'm not trying to complicate the matter, but because of the size of this property, they're allowed to have 3 units on this property if it were to be subdivided. But the zoning that we just adopted in first reading during that quasi-judicial hearing actually limits it to just one. So I just wanted to, you may have noticed that in your staff report.
Stuart, when someone wants to leave the county and come to us, do they need to release them to us?
So the Florida statute does require that we notify the county in terms of any annexation process. What we typically do before we advise someone to submit an application to the city is we would typically reach out to the county staff, and they would check with legal and they would check with planning and basically give us an informal agreement to support or to not support it. And so we typically don't move, we've never moved forward as far as I'm concerned in terms of moving forward with an annexation that the county has not supported.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, do I hear a motion to accept 2022-07?
I move we accept 2022-07.
I'll second it.
Thank you. No discussion. Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilmember Flores?
Yes.
Councilmember Chizalow?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to ordinance 2022-10. Becky, can you read that one for us, please?
Yes, this is ordinance number 2022-10, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Florida, relating to counseling services, amending the Municipal Code of Ordinances, Land Development Code, amending Appendix G, amending Chapter 14 entitled Zoning Regulations, by amending Section 14-19 entitled RMF-2 Multifamily Residential District, Medium Density, to amend the minimum lot size required for townhouse development, providing for enforcement and penalties, providing for a savings provision, providing for codification, providing for consulting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Stuart, was this like a discrepancy in the code, or tell us a little bit about this?
Correct, Madam Mayor. This is an administrative amendment, meaning that this is something that staff is proposing, planning staff at least is proposing to fix a discrepancy that is in the city's land development code. Essentially, we have a high-density residential development district, we have a medium density, and then we have a low density. Well, what happens is that the low density and the medium density residential districts, they both allow townhome developments, but the maximum number of townhomes that can be built in both of these the low density and the medium density district are exactly the same, even though the medium density has a bigger range. So essentially, that typically doesn't happen. You have a medium density residential district because typically you want to have a higher level of development. So for example, in that same district, a condo or apartment complex could be built up to 35 units per acre. But when you do the math based on the minimum area required for each townhome development in that medium density district, you only get 12. So it's a huge discrepancy, and it's something that essentially has to do with house cleaning, and staff is recommending approval of this. I just want to let you know that the reason why staff noticed this is because we're actually processing a townhome development on Cardinal Boulevard. Right now, it's in the 3700 block, and this is how this issue came up, because since I've been here, we've never done a medium density district townhome development. And just to clarify the record, this has absolutely nothing to do with the Oceans 25 development. That was done under a development agreement. That was my first question. That was done on a development agreement. This is for medium density RMF-2 zoning district. So the other reason why staff brought this up is because you may recall the strategic plan that the City Council approved, and there was huge participation from the citizens of the city in terms of drafting that strategic plan. Well, one of the goals and the policies in that strategic plan is to essentially remove obstacles to development. So when staff was reviewing this townhome development, we realized that there was a huge discrepancy, and essentially the property owner, the developer, could not get anywhere to even the midpoint of that density range that is entitled to that property owner. If that property owner wanted to build a condo, the property owner could build up to 35 units per acre, whereas for townhomes, they're only limited to 12 units per acre, which is the same for the low density district. So it just doesn't make sense from a logical or planning standpoint, and that's the reason why staff is proposing this.
And is this, when you talk about on Cardinal, is that the one about 6 months ago that he was, the developer wanted to go from a fourplex to an eightplex to a 12? It's a different, okay.
No, that's in the 3800 block.
Okay, and how would that affect that particular?
So they
would
actually
change that at all?
It wouldn't impact them because they are subject to a development agreement as well,
Okay.
in which they were specified to have only a certain number of units on that property.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion to accept ordinance 2022-010?
I so move.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion on that or any other questions for Stuart?
I have a question. Stuart, is there proposed, did someone approach you at City Hall to say, I have a proposed development and this is what I need?
So what we got was, what we're currently processing is an actual application to build a townhome complex. So we do have an application that we're processing, and we realize that the number of units that is being proposed in this current site plan application that we have, it couldn't reach the maximum density that's allowed within that district. And so it just doesn't make sense. Something was wrong. There's a glitch in the code, if you want to call it that. And the other reason why they couldn't reach that maximum that's within that range in that district is because it mirrors the exact same requirement for a lower density district. And in the lower density district, you can only have up to 12 units per acre in terms of townhome development. But in this district, you're allowed, or you can only achieve the same amount. Right. So typically, you would want to achieve something within that range. So the range for the low density district is 0 to 12 units per acre. Townhomes, you can get up to 12 units per acre in that low density. In this district that we're talking about right now, the townhomes can only achieve, you can only achieve 12 townhomes. So in other words, there's a discrepancy. The medium density district is supposed to be higher than the lower density. And not only that, the density that on the ground that you can actually build has to be within that range of 12 to 35 units per acre. And if it's not, then there's an issue in terms of entitlement.
Right. Is this the property near the Truist Bank?
This property is, I believe, behind the famous shores. It's a 3700 block.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Stuart, I have a question.
So Madam Mayor, if you want me to just show real quickly, this is what it looks like right now.
And then Councilman Bryan has a question.
Okay, sure.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Okay, so this is what the current regulation looks like, and this may help just clarify. So right now, in the RMF2 district, which is the column to the right, townhomes you can build up to 12 units per acre, apartments you can build up to, or condos you can build up to 35 units per acre. In the lower density district, which is the RMF3, which is the one to the middle, you can get up to 12 townhomes and 12 apartments. So when you look at the 12 and the 12 for townhomes, they should not be the same because this is a higher density district. So in the middle one, you see up to 12 units per acre, but in the one to the right, you're allowed to have 12.1 to 35 units per acre. So essentially, it's a matter of fairness in terms of what can be built on the property. So the proposed regulation, if we were to change the regulation, what it would do is it would change the denominator that's used to calculate the number of units that can be built per acre on the property. And if the council approves that, what will end up happening is, nothing's happening to the RMF3 district, the low density district. But on the right-hand side, you'll see that the number of apartments or condos will remain the same, whereas the number of townhomes come up to 18 units per acre. Now, the reason why we did the math to come up with 18 units per acre is because townhome is a horizontal form of development, whereas apartments and condos, they're vertical. So when the more horizontal development you have, the more amenity or balance you need in terms of green area and things like that. So if we were to change this to have the math work out to 35 units per acre, then you end up trying to put 10 pungs of something in a 5-pung bag kind of scenario. So we tried to find a midpoint, and actually the 18 units per acre is the midpoint that we would realize if this ordinance were to be adopted.
Councilman Bryan?
Yeah, could you go back to the previous slide? The one that had the change, that one. This appears to be the only change, whereas you're really changing the 12 to 18, so I don't quite understand.
So what is changing here, if you look under section 14-19 of the City's Land Development Code, which is the RMF-2, the medium density residential district that we're looking at, right now, if you look at the area that's required for one dwelling unit on a piece of property, you're required to have 3,630 square feet of land. If you look at the town, I'm sorry, I've gotten this mouse wet. If you look at the RMF-3, which is a lower density district for townhome area, you'll notice that it's the same amount that you have there. So what we'll be doing if this ordinance is adopted is that it will strike through, if you see in the package that you have before you, it will strike through this number, the 3630, and it will replace it with the 2740. So the denominator for that you divide the acreage into, or the square footage into, will change from 3630 to 2740. So when you do the math, you'll notice that.
That changes 12 to 18.
Correct.
Correct, correct.
All right.
It's common, I mean, it's common sense. It makes a lot of sense what you're doing.
So staff has recommended approval of this ordinance.
There's a motion on the floor.
Well, there's a motion, and this was just a discussion, so Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Councilmember Bryan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer,
Yes.
Councilmember Flatus,
Yes.
Councilmember Frislow,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we'll go on to ordinance 2022-11. Becky, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, this is ordinance 2022-11, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Florida, prohibiting freestanding signs, amending the Municipal Code of Ordinances, Land Development Code, amending Appendix G, amending Chapter 6, entitled Signs and Advertising, by amending Section 6-7, entitled Removal of Abandoned, Deteriorated, and Other Nonconforming Signs, to extend the amortization period for nonconforming ground and pole signs, providing for enforcement and penalties, providing for a savings provision, providing for codification, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. So this evening, we're not talking about the grant or anything, we're just going ahead and can you tell us a little bit about how this came apart? The background you gave me about the beautification we did with the underground, and can you go into that so everyone understands, please?
Sure. In 2006, I believe it was, the city residents of the city of Daytona Beach Shores, the voters, essentially voted in a referendum to approve a $30 million program in which the city would utilize that $30 million to essentially underground all the utilities in Daytona Beach Shores and to basically beautify the streetscape of the city of Daytona Beach Shores. But in conjunction with that, it's kind of twofold. You know, it's not just a matter of beautification. At least in 2006, it was also a matter of what's called hurricane resiliency, to essentially ensure that whenever there's a storm, because the utilities are underground in Daytona Beach Shores, that we'd be able to be a little bit more resilient in terms of getting back on the network, in terms of having electricity, power, things of that nature in terms of utilities. So in 2012, the city council at the time, to complement the vote by the people and to complement the completion of the streetscape project, the city council passed ordinance 2012-02, I believe it was, which is, for lack of a better term, the monument sign ordinance, because it didn't really make much sense to have a beautiful streetscape and then have all these tall signs all over the place. And so the city council decided to pass that ordinance, and it essentially gave sign owners 10 years to either alter their existing pole signs, remove their existing pole signs, or replace it with a new conforming sign, which would essentially be shorter. So instead of seeing all these tall signs everywhere, you'll see shorter signs. That was the intent of that particular ordinance. And it gave the owners, as I mentioned, 10 years to essentially enact one of those three actions there. So during that process, we did notify property owners. All the ordinances were advertised. We put things in Pelican, and just recently we were going to send a notice out to the residents, and not to the residents, but to the property owners who had signs, to essentially tell them, look, April 9th, which is the deadline to replace their sign or fix their sign or whatever have you, was right around the corner. But after consultation with management, staff elected to bring forward this issue to the city council. I believe it was the March 8th meeting, which was the last city council meeting, and city council essentially directed staff to come up with an ordinance that would extend the deadline, the amortization period, if you will, from April 9th to 1 year in the future after this ordinance has been adopted. And if this is adopted in first reading, it will go to the Planning and Zoning Board for the recommendation. And whenever it comes back to the City Council for second reading, we will have a draft of the not a draft, but we'll actually have the grant program for you to actually reinstitute again.
Okay, if we choose.
Correct, if you choose to do so.
Program.
So the grant program, as you recall, was instituted to essentially help and lessen the burden for all these property owners to have to relocate their sign, eliminate their sign, or essentially buy a new sign. And the grant program was it started around 5,000 and then it jumped up to 6,500 for plazas and for hotel properties, and I believe it was 3,500 for standalone commercial. But then in 2017, it was actually redesigned to essentially hasten the action of the property owner, the sign owner, and to basically incentivize property owners, sign owners to get the move on, if you want to call it that. And essentially the way it happened was it went down in a graduated scale. So instead of getting 6,500, it jumped from 6,500 to 55 or whatever over the course of the last few years. And I believe the last amount was around
$1,350.
$1,300.
This is first reading on second reading. If this gets approved this evening, then we'll go over into more detail on, are we going to institute a grant? What I think the biggest thing that this council will have to decide is, what will the penalties be?
What will the penalties be?
Penalties be.
Yes.
If people don't, we're going to try and urge them to comply, in this next year. And also I wanted to say, somebody reached out to me and said, why are you giving them a year? Why aren't 6 months? I think I had a discussion with the city manager. It's very hard to get supplies right now or contractors to do work. So, I want to be fair to them, and I think a year would be good.
And as you saw in your staff report, Madam Mayor, I mean, we've been going through the pandemic, and the pandemic has been difficult on not only, national corporations, but just imagine the little mom and pop out there. They have been suffering, and so, considering the supply chain issue, considering the economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, and, I believe it was 2017 and 18, we had 2 storms as well. Staff just felt that this was probably, the best thing that we could do that would kind of find a balance in between, getting this action done in a very fair and equitable manner, timely manner as well.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion to accept 2022-11?
I move to accept it as proposed.
I'll second it.
Thank you. And any other discussion or any questions for Stuart? We will go into detail in second reading, but we're just asking right now for the extension. Okay, if no,
Yeah, I just wondered, is there any, excuse me.
You'll have to state your name and address.
Hi, Craig Eberhard. Just a question I have, is there any number of the non-conforming signs?
Is it 68?
69.
69. I was close. 69.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think, did we have a motion and a second?
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion? Hey, Sherry, can you take a vote on that, please?
Councilmember Plettis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilmember Frislow?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we'll go on to council comments. Councilman Bryan, what do you have for us this evening?
I'll recap a couple of the legislative efforts. The smoking bills passed the legislature, and they're on the governor's desk. I haven't really tried to find out whether he signed them yet or not, but I don't think he has any reason to not sign them. The bills that were going to require local officials to basically fill out their complete financial statements, including their net worth, it actually died in the legislature. It just didn't come up for a vote in the House, and that happens sometimes. If it had come up for a vote, I'm sure it would have passed. But the only caveat is when a bill gets that close, they're likely to pass the next year. So for the people that don't want to have that kind of financial disclosure, basically got at least another year to not have to worry about it. And then the building code bills that basically would require homeowners associations that are near the water. These were motivated by the South Florida accident. They had the same fate. They probably would have passed had they come up for a vote on the House floor, but they didn't make it. So they just basically had more business than they chose to do at the end of the session, and some of these bills just fell by the wayside. That's all I have.
That's it? Okay, thank you. I'm going to skip over Vice Mayor right now because I want to add on to what Councilman is saying. I'm now the advocacy chair for Volusia County. So what that means, I don't know. I know that we had a couple people that were there. So what I did in January was hold a Civics 101 class. And what that did was just to get people interested so they know that they have a voice in these bills. So we went from start to finish about how a bill comes about, what you can do. And what I did was pull out the ones that I felt like were of particular interest for Daytona Beach Shores. So I'll be doing that for every city in Volusia County. Again, just a basic, this is what a bill is, this is who your representatives are, this is how you can reach out to them and tell them yes or no. We talked a little bit about how informational Volusia, or Florida League of Cities is, whether they support a bill, whether they're neutral or they oppose it. And there's sometimes that residents don't agree with that, and that's what you want to reach out to your House of Representative and your senator and tell them that. So just to let you know that we are going to be rolling out something in the county for advocacy. And thank you, Councilman Bryan, for always keeping us updated on that. Okay, Vice Mayor?
I just want to thank the residents who showed up tonight and the ones who are watching online. It's good to see people getting involved in government.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to talk about some of the events that we're going to have. So we'll have a concert this Friday night from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Pavilion. Coffee with the mayor, as I'm talking about hearing who your representatives are. In April, Coffee of the Mayor, we're going to have Senator Tom Wright. And then in May, we're going to have a very, very special event for our retiring city manager. So the whole coffee will be him speaking to us about all of his experiences for these past 22 years. And then June, what I plan on doing, I have a lot of residents that say, I work during the day, can we do something at night? So the June event will be an evening, and what I'd like to do is have our new city manager introduce his new staff, and they'll come up and tell you what their responsibilities are and who you need to reach out to. So that's it for me. Councilman Frizzlone?
Yeah, I just, March 28th at 11 a.m. is going to be special. We're going to get that permit, Fred. But I just want to thank the people that are here and also the people online. But I really can't stress enough Treasure Island, all the negotiations and all of the, I guess, pushing and shoving and back and forth. And I really think on the 28th, if you get a chance, go shake that man's hand right there, and that man's hand, Stuart, and Kurt, and Nancy, and Fred. They did a marvelous, marvelous job negotiating this thing, and they deserve all the credit, and we should all be very grateful for the city staff's effort on this. They worked really, really hard to get this over the goal line. So I just, again, my compliments to you, Mike, and your whole staff.
Amen to that.
Thank you. Councilman Politis?
Actually, I drove by the Treasure Island this morning, and the City of Daytona Beach staff were there turning off the water. So the wheels are in motion. You know, this sign that we just came up with, and I'm sure Stuart and his staff will try and parallel the grant program, and we'll get involved to try and be stewards of the finances for the city. But you know, if you go up and down A1A, the majority of the businesses that are affected are mom and pops. And so we'll, you know, be smart with our money, but also send them one notice, let them know, okay, it's going to stop April of next year. Here's what the potential code violations can be, but here's the incentive program. So we urge you to go ahead and make an application, get your sign permit. You know, Ray Webb is a personal friend of mine. I've known him for 40-something years, and he owns Kenco. And I just recently ran into him somewhere, and it's true, there is a supply chain issue. He's got a lot of, he's got a lot of orders for signs, but still waiting on parts and pieces and a lot of stuff. So I think it's smart for us as a city to just give them a little bit more time to come into compliance. I just feel bad for Mr. George, who's also going to have to come into compliance as well.
I'm sure he'll be bending your ear.
No, it's all right. You know, he'll do what he's got to do. He is a proud member of this community, and he'll do whatever it is to step up to the plate and do the right thing.
Okay, great. All right, I did not have any requests to speak this evening, but as always, I always open it up to someone that, yeah, Tony, if you'd like to come out, make sure you fill out a form. And then, thank you.
I think you remember the last meeting, last meeting, Tony remembers this, we had some of our residents here last week, last meeting, I believe it was, about the homeowners insurance. Well, sad to say, the legislature did not do anything with this homeowners. They left it, dormant, and the only way the news journal said was that the governor would have to bring them back into special session. We are suffering. I mean, we're going to be assessed $1,500 assessment at Cloverleaf North, April 1st. We already would. And I can't see that getting any better. I mean, if they don't act, I don't know the governor, whether he's going to bring back the legislature on this year or not. But maybe when Senator Rice comes.
Tom
Wright comes in
April.
May, is it?
April.
Maybe.
April.
Could you please, we could bring that up, one of the topics, whether or not that would help. It would be good, because I think it's all along the beach side. I'm sure everybody is affected with this, but when I read that article, it doesn't look good for us. So that's about it I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tony.
Comment?
Yes, comment.
Yeah, just a comment. I do think that we should try to get involved where we can, because it's clear that the legislator is punting on these issues. They're not sure what to do, and they are kicking the can down the road to the local councils. So I don't see them being very aggressive here. If you read what's happened, they're not sure themselves what to do or how to handle it. So I do think we should take the bull by the horns here and start to have an agenda with ourselves.
Yeah, the homeowners insurance.
Yeah, I agree. I just paid my bill today for the next year. The renewal was $6,500.
Yeah, everybody is getting hit with it. So again, that's what advocacy is about. You have a voice. So, we will give you the tools. We have Tom Wright as, Senator Wright is our senator, and Tom Leake is our House of Representatives. And reach out to those people. I certainly will voice my opinion. A couple of us were in Tallahassee, and we met with them, and they wanted to know what's going on, what do you need? So, this is one of the things we'll tell them what we need. So, thank you very much, Tony, for bringing that up. Anyone else want to speak? Okay, if not, one of the items that we ended up for the next agenda is our Director of Public Safety is going to bring in these new probationaries and show us what we voted on and what Sergeant Long had in place, so we'll get to meet them. Is there anything else we need to add to that agenda besides the second readings? Okay, if not,